the big news is how Drew Barrymore is going to be Etsy's chief gift officer. Chris, I need you to explain exactly what they're up to and why is Drew Barrymore even doing this? And is this even going to impact us Etsy sellers? Why don't you give me your thoughts on that?
The reason that they're doing this, Scott, is this comes into the whole gift mode thing that they're launching. This ties into the Super Bowl ad. They wanted to have a face for gift mode. And Drew Barrymore is who they chose to be that person. And it may seem like a bit of a strange choice. And I want to get your opinion here in a little bit on whether you think it'll have a positive, negative, or no impact at all on Etsy sellers. But it may seem like a strange choice until you actually look back at the history between Drew Barrymore and Etsy. And it turns out that they've been doing some stuff together for 4 or 5 years now. And way back during the disease that shall not be named in early 2020, they did some things with her. They had her promote a few different things, but she is now what they're calling the chief gifting officer. And it's really just a fancy way of saying that she's the spokesperson for Etsy now, right? She's like the celebrity face of Etsy. But she has said repeatedly over the last 4 or 5 years how much she loves Etsy, how much she loves the creativity and the uniqueness of the things on the site. So if you're going to pick a celebrity spokesperson for your company, she's probably the right person to do it because she's been on the record for the last 4 or 5 years talking about how much she loves the site, how much she loves the uniqueness, how much she loves the ability to find what she's looking for within the Etsy ecosystem. And then pairing that with gift mode, which is what Etsy really seems to be pushing as their stake in the ground, right? Their thing that will help them stand out from all of the competition that has popped up in the e-commerce world over the last few years. You know, it really just used to be Amazon and Etsy. And over the last few years, we've had some other people come in, Wish.com, Temu, Shein, a bunch of these other websites that are taking small corners of the market and taking a little bit from Amazon, taking a little bit from Etsy. And Etsy's been looking for that way to stand out. They think gifting mode is that thing. So in addition to their big Super Bowl ad buy, they've brought on Miss Drew Barrymore to be that spokesperson. Scott, I want to get your opinion on whether or not you think this is a good thing, a bad thing, a neutral thing. Just having a spokesperson in and of itself, I don't necessarily think brings in more traffic, which I guess would be the goal. But it's really couched in this gift mode, gift wrap, for lack of a better term. So what are your thoughts on having her specifically as kind of the face of this gift mode?
Well, no, I think number one, I think having a woman on there is a great idea because I think there's probably more women shopping on Etsy than there are men. So I definitely think it speaks to the women. I think she's just well liked too, from what I know, and respected. But the way I look at this is like no other endorsement, right? Like it's like you're making Michael Jordan Nike, right? Like to me, it's like you're just putting a face to it to make Etsy cool, right? To make Etsy the place to where you would now think of, oh, well, Drew Barrymore shops there. I should shop there. There must be good stuff there. I'm curious to see how they're going to market Drew Barrymore other than just putting her on the website. Like, are they going to run commercials all the time, on TV, not just Super Bowl? Because I don't even think the Super Bowl has her in it. It doesn't, I mean, actually the Super Bowl commercial was weird, which we should probably do a separate video, watching the video and explaining what the heck is going on with that video. And if anybody's watched that video and put that in the comments, let us know what you thought of the Super Bowl commercial if you've already watched it, which I'm kind of surprised that they leaked it out and kind of shared it, because why wouldn't you just wait? Everybody kind of waits to see what's happening there. But let's kind of move on here from that. My thought is, yeah, I think it's a good move. I think that they do need someone like a Drew Barrymore to be a face, kind of like a Joanne Gaines, if you will, right? That's getting a good, publicity. And I just think that she's well liked. And I do think it will probably help bring people over to shop for those unique type of gifts. And that's, I think, what they're going after.
Yeah. And I think this falls in the same line. And I think the line that I've seen a bunch of different places, be it the seller community, Facebook groups, even comments on this channel, people are asking, Scott, is this a good investment of money? $7 million sounds like a lot of money for a Super Bowl ad. Plus, I don't think Drew Barrymore is doing this out of the goodness of her heart. She could be, but there's a really high chance that they're giving her a couple bucks to be able to do this. So what do you say to the argument that Etsy Etsy needs to focus more on sellers and less on the traffic side of this, which really seems to be their big push this year. You know, they had some of the rogue AI stuff happen at the end of 2023. They had some issues with sellers. Their focus in 2024 really seems to be on pushing gift mode, pushing more traffic to the site. And it seems like they're spending a good chunk of their budget to do that, rather than some of the things that sellers would probably want to see. So what are your thoughts on whether they're striking that balance well? And is this a good use of, you know, a big chunk of change?
Yeah, no, I do think I definitely think it's worth it. I don't know that the commercial was worth it, you know, and I think we should probably do a reaction video to it, because I think we both had some thoughts on it. And I think that showing that they're putting money into the platform, I think is a good thing. I think it shows that they believe in the platform and they do want to make the platform more hip, if you will, like more mainstream. They want it to be more of a conversation amongst more people that are gifting, and again, it's looking like they want to be known for the gifting platform. Like that's what they're positioning themselves. But do I think it's worth the money? I do. I do think it's worth the money. And I know a lot of people say, well, why don't they put more money into things that can help us sell more? They're doing pretty good there too, you know, and I know people would probably argue that point. But I look at it like, listen, you're on a platform that you're not having to technically pay for a Super Bowl ad. You don't have to pay for all those ads they ran leading up to Christmas, right? They're just bringing people over to the platform, but you're on the platform and you're not paying a dime for that. Now, if you're running Etsy ads, are you paying for that? Yes, but that's not necessarily them bringing over just normal organic, you know, traffic coming over to the shop. So I'm a fan. I don't know that the dollars are spent the best with the commercials that they're running. I think the ones around the holiday were pretty good, because it was all about like that person, like your dad's a woodworker. So they're like, you know, what could I get them? And they were playing like I forget what the jingle was, but they were something that everyone knows. I think it's good. I just think that they could do a better job with the commercials themselves. But I think, yeah, I think showing that they're trying to invest in the platform is a good thing for all of us.
Well, and I think it's just the dollar amount that has everybody kind of weirded out. Like,
Sure.
I didn't see anybody complain about the holiday ads, but I guarantee you that ad spend, right? That ad buy for Etsy was probably around the same dollar amount, if not more than what they're spending on a Super Bowl ad. But when you say $7 million to somebody, you're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. One, it's a small percentage of what Etsy actually makes in a year, right? And two, you also have to consider the scale of this, right? The Super Bowl is probably the most watched live sports event, and I'd have to pull up the stats to actually back this up, but it's hundreds of millions of people. And the argument that we got when they first announced the Super Bowl commercial was, but those aren't Etsy customers. And I have two things to say to that. First, if you look at who actually watches the Super Bowl, it's pretty balanced, especially this year with the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl. This is not going to go well into the future, right? But in 2024, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. Who is, Scott, consistently associated with the Chiefs that would be a draw to who Etsy is trying to target as their ideal customer? Not Drew Barrymore, but Miss Taylor Swift is probably going to be at the Super Bowl cheering on Travis Kelce, who plays for the Chiefs, in case you're not an American football fan, right? They are supposedly some sort of a thing, you know, whatever. But she'll be there. So that'll draw in a lot of younger viewers. But even without that, you're looking at like a 60-40 split between men and women. Who buys gifts? Everybody. Etsy's goal with this ad, just like with everything else it seems that they're doing this year, is really to push that gift mode to become the go-to place for whatever gift you have to buy, be it Valentine's Day, 4th of July, Christmas, birthdays, whatever. If that's their goal, then this is potentially a good use of that money. The question then becomes, what is the long-term benefit of that, right? Every ad buy seems like a good idea until you get the numbers back, or it seems like a terrible idea until you get the numbers back. So we have to wait and see what the return on that investment is. I'm not against it, other than the fact that I don't really like the ad itself. And like you said, we'll probably have to dive in and do a react video on that, just because it seems a little odd, but odd might work, right? So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think Etsy is just lighting this advertising budget on fire and forgetting about sellers. Again, it's a very small fraction of Etsy's overall marketing budget, much less their overall income. And it's their way to make a, for lack of a better term, Scott, a big stink about something new to the platform. And then following that up with whatever they're going to be doing moving forward with Drew Barrymore, I think there's potentially a really good move there for them if their goal is to try to become the go-to place for gifting.